Okay, so for the first time I'm going to do, I would say, a movie review, okay, because I'm going to use a movie that is very significant to me personally, because I saw it first when I was about 16, 17 years old on the TV late of a night, where they used to show a lot of old movies, at midnight. And I used to always be up late of a night, so I used to watch all these old movies because it was called The Golden Years of Hollywood by this Sydney movie buff that just was making this program. Not relevant, long since passed on even, which shows you how much time has passed, because this person was middle-aged when I used to watch this program, which was really just this person introducing old movies. The Golden Years of Hollywood means movies made mainly in the 40s. In fact, that was what he termed the Golden Years of Hollywood. But at any rate, a particular movie that I saw when I was quite young, and was also a favourite of his, I noticed, because he mentioned that he thought it was one of the best movies ever made, which very few other people would put this movie in a top movie category. But it's called Jewel in the Sun, and it affected me a lot when I saw it. It's a very long movie. It's a Western, but it's what you'd call a romance Western, perhaps. But there's a lot in it. But I'm going to just tell you the story quickly and for some sort of point. Because when I saw it when I was young, I related strongly to it, but I didn't understand why. And I didn't understand why it brought up strong emotions in me, because I had not experienced any life at that point and had never related really to it personally, but felt as though it was personal because it brought out strong feelings in me for no reason which I couldn't fathom. But I saw it then a few years later, and it brought out the same feeling. And then I think 20, 30 years later, I saw it again. Same thing. And I actually said to myself, maybe one day if I can watch this movie and not be emotionally affected by it, that would be almost strange for me to not be able to watch this movie to the end, because obviously it's at the end that the emotions come out about the movie. Now, anyway, it's playing on the screen now, but copyright, etc. Now, this movie I haven't actually seen it before I'm doing this, so I'm doing this just on spec. For no reason, it just occurred to me, the movie come to my head. I did see it about a year ago. I watched it because they have a copy on the actual YouTube channel. Okay, now, anyway, Jewel in the Sun. is essentially the story of this young girl who, as it shows at the beginning of the film, which I'm watching it now as I speak, but some of it, 5 minutes, 10 minutes has already passed in the movie. So this young girl is called Pearl Shavas, and she is a half-breed girl. In other words, her father is white and her mother is coloured. And her father was married to a coloured lady, but the coloured lady was wild, and as Pearl is wild, like she's wild lady, but she aspires to be, well, what I say is she's a wild girl or a wild spirit by nature, because her mother was wild and free by nature, even though she was married to her father. What happened was, at the beginning of the film, her father caught her mother, his wife, playing around with another man in a moment of extreme anger and a sense of betrayal. Because it was his wife, he killed his wife. So her father killed her mother because her mother was unfaithful. And then the father was killed for killing the mother. Now Pearl, the girl, is without parents. Even though she is grown, as we can see in the movie, she has no guardians and no way of making her way in the world. So she has been sent to her closest relative, which is a man that she greatly admires and who has real care and love for her. Now, point of this movie is, and it's only coming to me now, even though I've seen it over 40 odd years, because I didn't really take this in till even now. I just took in mainly the story of her and this brother of the brother, the man that is going to be like her chaperone, or should I say who takes care of her, who's given her a roof over her head. So he's actually very wealthy. He's given her a roof over her head. They are a very wealthy family. See how you can see here they're a wealthy family, because they've even got like servants. See, that's a servant there, but make no mistake, even the servant is giving the lady of the house her peace of mind, a piece of her mind. So it's an interesting thing. But see, this is Pearl, and this is the lady who is going to look after her now with her son. Her son is like, she has 2 sons, okay? This lady here has 2 sons. This lady here has 2 sons. And she and her husband and the sons, they run this big ranch. They're very wealthy, they're well-to-do. Pearl has nothing. she's pretty much what you could say homeless almost, but they're going to adopt her into their house and look after her. They're very wealthy and well-to-do and very decent, but this lady has two sons. They're brothers. One is very much like her, very respectful and very what you'd call decent and does the right thing and is looking to marry a lady of like kind, and does in the movie. The other brother is like Pearl. Pearl is like duality, you could say, because she wants to be like the brother, the conservative, decent brother, but she's powerless to control her attraction to the other brother, who is like her, wild, and even though he is wealthy, he is the favoured son of his father. See his father sitting there on the chair. He is the favoured son of the father, even though he is wild and does illegal things and doesn't need to. But he just favours him anyway, and he spoils him. But he does many illegal, wild things just because it's just in his nature to be that way, which is almost unexplainable. The movie doesn't really explain it. But he is, the minute he sees Pearl Shavaz, he is attracted to her. His name is Lute. You could say he's like a spoiled child in a way, a spoiled son. And he can do no wrong in the eyes of his father, even though he does much wrong. He admires his spirit and his reckless ways, you could say, but see how he's smiling, thinking how he's got a wonderful son, but he doesn't realise that he doesn't really fully comprehend that it is not going to be a benefit for him as the movie goes on, because eventually it gets to where, like Pearl's father, who killed, even though Pearl's father was a very decent, honourable, nice man, he was, in a moment of anger, at his wife being unfaithful, he killed her, unfortunately. And he was quite content with being punished for that, because he knew he'd done wrong and he didn't expect to escape, punishment for it. He was glad to accept it. But here we have the other brother, played by Joseph Cotton, and the beautiful girl, Pearl, is played by Jennifer Jones. She greatly admires this brother because he cares about her. He's not romantically involved with her. He doesn't love her that way. But she adores him because she sees him as so kind, so respectful and so decent, something that she's not really been used to in her life in a way. But unfortunately she will be, her wild side, she will be not able to resist her attraction to Lute. Even though that they are two brothers, see how he's waiting for her? He already has set his eyes on her. he knows his own kind. See, he's already set his eyes on her. She knows too, and she is probably going to be irresistibly attracted to him. She's going to try to resist the temptation of him because she can see that he is the opposite to the other brother that she admires and adores. But it's a different game. And she is going to, I can't believe I'm filming this, but she's going to try to resist it. She says, I hate you. Duality mirror in this movie, as usual. They always show the duality. The demigod actors, unfortunately. This is a movie review, so I've got to get into the movie as opposed to she's angry and furious at him because she knows that he's tempted her and she's going to find it impossible to resist the temptation of, I suppose you could say, her wild, darker side. But the movie will show that she, although it is a passion, she genuinely loves him and wants to, like, at some point she wants to marry him. But Lute is a wild man who plays with people. He doesn't understand a serious relationship. He is all about the fun and doing wrong things or doing things that he doesn't need to do. Like I say, he's wealthy and his family is well-to-do, and yet he still he does robberies and things that, unbeknownst to his family, just for the sheer fun of it. And it's the same with Pearl. Like, he is so attracted to her and he wants her to be his girl. In fact, he says that in the movie. He says, you're my girl, no one else's. You know, and she wants to be his girl. See how, and there he is. And see how he will even seduce her with this. That's the brother. He's saying they're two opposites, these brothers. But there's an ad coming up now, so I'll leave that there. But you know, Lute won't take no for an answer with Pearl Shavaz, and it will cause a rift between the brothers, in the sense that the Lute, this brother here, he wants the best for Pearl. He wants her to have a good, decent life, but Lute just wants to possess her as a woman. They understand one another. It's a strange thing to be, see, he's like, I'll do what I want. It's a strange thing because he is irresistibly attractive, but also he's irresistibly attractive to Pearl. She will be tempted. Look at her watching him. She can't help it. He's showing off and she's falling for it. See, she told him she hated him and spat on him the night before, but look what's going to happen. And he's got the horse to bow down to her, and it's an irresistible doomed attraction in a way. She knows it too. He couldn't care less, to be honest. He's just see. and he's going to give her the horse too. It's a wild horse, and look, he's going to give it. He'll actually give it to her. She won't. She will not be able to resist his charm. See, he was going and leaving, and she's like, now I'm going. And see, she's wild. She can't even get onto the horse, but she's going to ride that wild horse, and he's. They're two of a kind. But, you know, ooh. Open the gate. And now, the horse is wild, she's wild, and Loot is wild. Because he thought she could ride the horse, you see, because she wanted the horse, but she's never ridden a horse before. But at any rate, what am I saying here? Oh, wait on. Look, I've got to get back. I'm doing a movie review, and I'm actually getting engrossed in the movie. I've forgotten that I'm actually filming. I can't believe that. I've actually forgotten that I'm filming and forgotten. I'm sort of talking it and getting... See, she's getting involved with someone that she shouldn't see. He's giving her the horse. And, you know, the attraction of a... and she's like, she's trying to be like a lady, because she's like, just because you gave me the horse doesn't mean that I'm yours, type of thing. But that's not how he sees it. He's already set his eyes that she is going to be his girl for life. You know, and he's invited her somewhere or something, and she's like, no, I won't go, I'm not coming. But perhaps I'll need to is there relevance to why I'm doing this movie? Now, see, I've just completely lost my mind here. I don't know what I'm actually concentrating on this movie, whereas when it started I had the full feeling for it and the full thing, whereas now I'm like completely bamboozled myself. But I think that I need to turn it up to get the thing of it a bit more. Oh, wait on, here we go. I'm not quite getting it here. Not quite getting it here, I'm losing track of it. There's a rift forming now in the whole family here in this movie. It's just coming up. This brother who is honourable and cares about them all and knows what he's doing, unlike Wild Lute, who see, he's actually telling him, and he's like, what's wrong with Lute? He's like, and you know, he won't hear a word against Lute, even though they're both his sons, because they have different ideas, you know, and now see, he wants to have a talk to Pearl, and she's like, it's kind of late, I think I better go to bed. But of course she's only going to look for a rendezvous with Lute, actually, if you really think about it. She's like torn, or has a dilemma in a way, because she wants to be a respectable lady, but she also is playing with Lute, who isn't about relationship with a respectable lady. He isn't about relationships at all. He's about, you're my lady, but essentially it's about a fling. Because even in his relationship, as this movie goes along, he only wants to see her when it suits him. Whereas she wants to, at some point, she's like, even though, you know, we've already had the relationship, I want to marry you. If I'm your girl, we'll get married and we'll live a respectable type of life. But he's not about that. He's about just seeing her when it suits him, and then the rest of the time running around the countryside doing lots of what you'd have to say underhanded things that he doesn't need to do, but he likes the excitement of doing bad things, you could say. It's just in his nature. It's in his nature, just like the artificial ones of this reality. Except that in this, he's like a real person that just has a dark side and thinks that he can just basically do what he likes, because that's really essentially it, because he has been spoilt by the father in a way. And he's actually almost warning her against Lute. And she's like, yes, don't worry, I'm going to wake up to him, I won't be drawn in by him. And he's like, oh, I'm glad, because the only trouble is she's a little bit naughty too, because she has the wild side. See, he's there serenading her, waiting for her to come to him, and then he's going to go. Now he's like annoyed because he's like, oh, he saw her taking the walk with the brother, even though there is no romance between her and the brother. It was purely, you know, he will subsequently in this film marry a respectable girl that he's in love with, you know. But at any rate, let me see. I'm actually just telling you the movie, aren't I? Now, why am I doing that? But I'm just showing the characters, you see. Now he's going to go for a swim, and she's already swimming in the water. But don't forget, these are respectable times. And she can't come out of the water because she's took all her clothes off. So he's just going to wait there till dark. And she's like trying to be respectable, so she can't come out the water because her clothes are on the bank, and he's just going to wait there. He's just naughty. Now finally she has got the clothes and it's dark, so they look like two. She's angry.
That makes a doggone scared. I see something been home a long time ago. Little tiger cat.
Evening, Pearl. Have a good swim?
Let me through. Am I too late for supper? I mean, is everybody finished? Miss McCandless say anything?
Oh, yes, ma'am. She said, where's Miss Pearl? And I said, I don't know, Miss McCandless. And she said, where's Mr. Luton? And I said, I don't know, ma'am. And she said, well,
Pearl, didn't we? I was so worried about you. Sorry, ma'am. What happened? I went right. With Luton? First, I get Miss Pearl some supper.
yes, ma'am. The senator's got rules about supper. He says to me, don't you ever...
First,
Yes, ma'am.
did you go riding with Luton? No, ma'am. I didn't go riding with Luton. He wasn't here for supper either. He's coming. But he wasn't with you? We just happened to meet up. I see. But why is your hair wet, Pearl? Well, I was down to the sun. You went in swimming? Yes, ma'am. With Luton? No, ma'am. I didn't, ma'am. Honestly, I didn't. I didn't, ma'am. All right, Pearl.
Evening, Ma.
Good evening, Luton.
Sorry to be late. We were down to the summit. I think I'll take a ride over to El Paso tomorrow. Get me a little fun and relaxation. Anything I can bring you, Ma?
No, thank you, Luton.
Pearl, I think I'll try to get you one of them newfangled bathing suits. She swims real well, Ma. Where'd you learn, Pearl?
Oh, my dear. You varmint.
What you getting your bristles up about, Pearl?
Miss Pearl, wake up.
What is it?
And
What's the matter? What time is it?
Well, you must...
anyway, I'm just showing bits of it. But this movie gets serious as it goes on because, you know, there's a rift between the brothers and there's a rift between the whole family. In other words, the father and the mother and the two brothers. And it causes where the father turns against the you know, it becomes like shall we say where the unfortunately I've got the ads coming on, so I've got to wait for that. It causes a rift between the brothers and the father to where wait on, I can't explain it. I'm trying to. But you know, like he keeps going away and doing all sorts of bad activities, shall we say, and then he comes back and expects to find Pearl waiting, and which I think he does. Oh, wait on, I'll just... Yeah, see, he does. There we go. Like he's been away for a long time and she doesn't want a bar of him. But as usual, irresistible temptation. Her wild nature and his wild, reckless nature, you know, you can have a lot in common. Like she has like I say, you're always in a dilemma. But at any rate, the actual brothers are separated towards the end of the movie to where there's like going to be a war waged between the families. See that brother and they know that that Lute is doing wrong things, and eventually, even though, like I say, they're a wealthy, well-to-do family, the mother, of course, recognises the truth, shall we say. She knows that this is really the better son, but the father could not help but make a favourite of Lute, the other one. Even though this son actually loves both his parents and always tries to do the right thing. But, you know, Lute basically, you know, he plays life for himself 100%. Like he doesn't overly care about the feelings of others or have any great loyalty, shall we say, to anyone in a way. You could put it that way. He actually knows now that Lute and Pearl are inside there together. He knows that. He just discovered that. See how he's now found them in there together late of a night. So he knows that Lute has led Pearl astray, you could say, because he knows that Lute is not really an honourable man, and she's ashamed and upset because she loves them both in a different way, you know. And he's like, goodbye. And she's like, because she wants to be, in her words, a good girl. And she knows that he's a good man. But she also, what she doesn't realise is that, and she said, it's not because of me all the trouble, and of course it's not. Even though she's in between it all, it's basically a problem between the brothers and their different personalities. And she is now going to be, like I always say in these movies that I often get attracted to, in a dilemma. He doesn't care less. He's like, you can talk it over, and he thinks that she'll just stick with him. And he's like, oh, you can come with me and my wife and we'll look after you. And she doesn't.
I know what you think. I guess I'm just trash, like my mom.
Pearl, you mustn't believe that it was Luke's fault. You needed some help.
Oh, I did. I needed you to help me.
Might as well say I loved you. Somehow you touched me.
You love me?
Thought of what you'd be like when you grew up a little.
Oh, I didn't know. Why didn't you tell me, Jesse?
I didn't think it'd be fair to tell you. I was a fool. I came to your room to say goodbye, to tell you that someday I'd be back for you. But I'd think about you and I'd write. I'll write to you, Pearl.
You will, Jesse, you will.
If you need me, I'll come back. Senator or no senator.
And you'll forget about tonight, won't you? You'll forget it.
No, I don't think I'll forget. I don't think I'll ever be able to. I shouldn't have told you the way I felt. It wasn't fair. There I go again. Trying to be fair.
Trash. Trash, 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 trash.
I hear you turn out to be a prize yellow dog down at the fence line.
Should have done that to you years ago.
And there he is, back playing the guitar, waiting on Pearl again. Even after all that, she's upset, but he needs somebody to love. But of course, his version of love is Jesse's the other one. She knows that Jesse's the right man for her, but Jesse's gonna marry someone else anyway, someone that is more suitable, but
All right, Jesse. You said you'd never forget.
oh well, I'm not. So, oh dear, this is hard filming this. Oh, okay, so, so Jesse's gone and he'll marry someone else, even though, of course, she didn't know, that's right, that he had feelings for her. She just looked up to him. But it's like, he likes to tame things. See, he's oh. And he don't give up. You have to say that about him. But as I say, to cut a long story short, I will go to the end of this movie, I think, or at least I'll just show bits because I got. He said, just don't let them bluff you. It takes a little know-how. He's kind of used to just doing that, isn't he, really? She wants to settle down, but he's like, I don't have to do nothing, I don't have to stay here, I can go elsewhere. And she's like, I'll come with you. But see, he's just not stable that way. And but at any rate, back to the water, I guess, back to the pool. Except now they are actually swimming together in the pool. And if I'm not good enough to marry, then I'm not good enough to do this with you. But, and he's promising her all sorts of things now, but he doesn't mean a word of it. He lives in the moment. He doesn't understand at all her perspective, shall we say. She wants to be like other ladies and other people that have a normal kind of life, you could say. But at any rate, that's not going to happen with a wild man. And if she didn't have that wild nature in herself, she wouldn't be playing with him. But hey, that's life, isn't it? You know. And any rate, as this movie, I'm gonna move it forward a bit here. I'm gonna move it forward. See, she's all dressed up now for the ball type of thing, as they say. But, you know, I suppose you could say that she wants her relationship with Luke to be acknowledged or out in the open. In other words, you know, where they're married and so-called respectable couple, if you know what I'm saying. And you know, and she's not used to this either. She's not used to this life, so she can't dance the regular dance even. She's like used to doing the wild kind of dance. You know, her background is different to his, even though he has like that double side, you know, like he's like has that because his background is wealthy and you know, at a high status level, you could say, in the community or the world, whatever. But they're getting on now, aren't they? But see, she just said they'll be surprised when they hear that we're going to get married. And he's like, surprised at what? What, getting married? He's like, oh, we don't want to talk about that now. Why spoil a good time? We're having a good time. But you see, that's the whole thing. He's not the marrying kind. Now he's like, you know, don't know how a man stands you nagging about all of this all the time, you know. She's like, well, if you won't marry, then I'll go away. And he's like, well, do what you want. Stop pestering me. But of course, that's what will happen. They will separate, but then he'll come back and it'll start all over again. And she knows that will just go on indefinitely. See? And now she's getting kind of, she's like, he's like a respectable older man who actually is interested in marrying her. But of course there's an age gap, so he knows that she's too young for him, but he's like, I'll look after you, and this sort of thing. Now this is going to cause a problem. Actually, this movie's coming back to me now because I haven't seen it for about a year or something. I think that the same thing happens as with her father. I think that Lute kills this man because she's going to marry him just for the respectability, and he gets jealous because he's a hothead, you know, and he's used to. I think that's what happens. I could be wrong, but I know that something turns him into an outlaw to where he's like a wanted man, and he has to go and leave everything behind and hide in the hills until it all blows over, because see, he doesn't mean any harm. She knows that he's too old, and see, she's going to play the jealous, the foolish jealous thing, and he's not interested. He couldn't care less, and he's waiting for her to come to him for the dance. See, but instead she's going to show him up by walking. See how he's waiting on, and she's just going to walk past and then dance with him, and she's like, how do you like it, you know? But at the same time, he knows that that's just a game, that she's just trying to make him jealous, and it is true, because she's not interested in the older man naturally. She respects the fact that he's an okay fella, but you know, she probably could marry him for a decent lifestyle, but this is a Western romance, so it's not going to be that way. Like she's attracted to the wildlife and the whole thing. She's not, you know, like I say, it's wanting to have things that are different, but at the same time still wanting to have like what you call respectability. See, she actually gets on well with this older fella. She's not, but see, there's no, it's a different thing. See, he's well off too. He's got all the cattle. She likes cattle. See, now she's back to her normal self, where she's like a little bit more wild and just playing around. You know, she's not, you know. And he's going to say, you know, you can marry me. That's right. I can't offer you, I'm not a young man, I can't offer you the same, you know, like what you would probably expect, but I can offer you a decent life. And she's thinking about it. She's honest though. She's like, I can never love you, and you're old. And he's like, well, I wouldn't expect anything much of you. I just happy to have you around, you know, and I'll look after you.
What'd you say?
I said, would you marry me? First time in my life I got up some nerve. How could a big gully
Oh, don't say that. You don't know about me. If you did, you wouldn't ask.
mean about loot?
So you know about me and Lou, too. Yeah, I guess ain't nobody don't know.
Pearl, I've knocked around plenty.
I'm trash, I tell you, trash.
Don't go telling me that. I'd kill the first man who said anything like that.
But I don't love you, Sam. Don't that matter?
You've only known me a little while, Pearl. I know I'm not something girls dream about like the McCandlesses. I'm not rich like them.
Well, ain't that?
But I'd love you and I'd take care of you. I got a little money saved. Get a little ranch of our own, maybe. Won't you even think about it, honey? Please, honey.
Don't you call me honey. Luke called me that. You're all alike. Coming? I hope I didn't say nothing to hurt your feelings, Sam.
That's all right, Pearl.
Sam, I'll marry you if you still want me to.
You mean it?
Unfortunately, that's not a good idea. No, it's not going to be a good idea. Because, you know, even though Luke won't marry her and wants to continue playing around and whatever. And the brother has now married this lady, so he's happy and he's made a wise choice because he's married someone who will be stable for him. But he still wants to be kind to Pearl, even though he did have strong feelings for her. He still has understanding and kindness towards her, and his wife is a reasonable, understanding woman, so she will actually not worry that that in other words that they could probably all be friends. But he's come back home, but there's going to be a problem because this is how this movie goes, is that the problem is going to be this, is that Lute is going to want to stop Pearl from marrying that older man so that she has a respectable, comfortable life, even though, you know, they know it's a marriage of convenience, and there's nothing wrong with that. If two people understand one another and agree to the conditions of a marriage, in other words, if two people openly say, well, we know it's not love in the usual sense, but we're happy to marry, that's fine. These two are happily married, they get on wonderful. But Lute is going to want to, unfortunately, get rid of both of them. He will stop the marriage of Pearl and that man, so he will turn himself into an outlaw so that he will be a wanted man, and he also then at some point decides that he's going to turn on his brother and get rid of him too. This is when this movie comes to its conclusion, which is where I used to always find it very emotional. But I'll just... He's even told her honestly that he loved Pearl before he married her, and she's fine with it because she's a stable, rational, sane lady who knows that it's okay. She's not going to be jealous and over the top like Lute, and try to cause a problem. See? And they're coming home. They're going to come home. But there's going to be a problem. As I just said, there's going to be a problem. See, there's going to be a problem. I'll show a little bit without showing too much dialogue because I've got to be careful of copyright with the movie. But I've already told you this because it come to me. But this is where we're going to see that Lute is not going to allow him to marry Pearl, even though he has refused to marry her. He's like, so there we have it. There's going to be a showdown here. He's like, she's my girl and she will always be my girl. And he's like, well, no, she's agreed to marry me. You don't want to marry her. But, of course, Lute is very good with, he's a cowboy and he, as you can see, he's pretty good at taming so we have the unfortunate, there's the ring that he was going to give Pearl. And he's like, so he just doesn't care, you see. He has no problem. And of course now it's like he's a wanted man now. Reward after to track him down for basically killing him in cold blood, you could say. At any rate, Pearl now, she's angry because she knows that he killed that man for, in cold blood just because she was going to marry him. And there we have it. This is, and the movie is called Jewel in the Sun, so as it comes towards the end, the title will make sense and it will be a striking turn of events. She's angry that he killed basically an innocent man because he was an older, likeable, friendly man that just was lonely and was willing to share his wealth with her because he was lonely and liked her, kind of innocent in a way, and yet, what can you say? What can you say? What can you say? But anyway, I'll just, he's an outlaw now anyway, and but still, she's got the gun. keep away from me. He's come to her in the middle of the night. He's an outlaw, wanted man. He's like, you're my girl. You'll always be my girl. But when she realises that that he is also going to kill the brother, that, as we know, she's always had extreme admiration and feelings for, would have desired to be the better person, shall we say. I don't know how to explain this. But when she realises that he's going to actually kill the brother, like he killed her future husband, even though she, it was a marriage of convenience, and he didn't want to marry her. See, this just shows the different personalities, even in a movie that is not always... I don't think that I'm making this movie review very good, actually. As the movie progresses, Lute and Jesse, they're the two brothers. Their mother and father are both dead now. They're both, the wife, the father has died, the mother's died. Jesse will come back to claim all the property and to run the ranch and the whole thing. And of course, Lute is now an outlaw. So there's problems. And that's just how this movie is progressing. I think that's how it's progressing. I think I've got a few things wrong, but it matters not. Matters not. Sometimes everyone finds out the truth when it's too late, shall we say. And this is, in this movie, even the mother and the father, they realise who's the good and the bad son and all this, but by that time it's just too late, perhaps. The mother, of course, knew this all along, but here we go.
Yes. She wants to be your friend.
Oh, Jesse, after your ma died, I just didn't want to go on living normal.
I know, Phil. I know what you
See, his wife accepts her.
She'll like you too. You just wait and see.
She's a lady, like your mom.
She's a lady girl like you're going to be.
No, I can't be no more.
Of course you can. We'll just pretend the whole thing was just a bad dream. That's all it was, actually, a nightmare.
Oh, Jesse, if only I could be good again.
Pearl, look at me. Remember when you wanted to learn, when you wanted me to help you? Well, I know just the school for you.
School?
What's the matter? Don't you still want to learn?
Oh, Jesse, I'll do anything. I'll cook for you. I'll wash Miss Helen's clothes up.
You'll do nothing of the sort. You'll learn to waltz and make small talk and have pretty dresses. Here.
For me?
From mother to you.
Jesse, I wish I could die for you.
Let's hope you never have to do that, Pearl.
Let's hope you never have to do that, Pearl, but we're coming to the showdown of the movie now because, like I say, Lute is going to come after him. See? See, he's going to come after him. He's going to... He doesn't understand that, but...
Is that you, Judas? I got a message from your brother. You know, the McCandless with the guts.
What's the matter with a bad man? Can he deliver his messages in person?
He has some business tonight with a train. You know, he just plumb don't like trains.
So I've heard. Have you become his assistant, Sid?
Oh, we keep in touch with each other. You should have seen his face when I told him you had Chavez with you.
I'll bet it was a lovely sight to behold. What's the message?
He says I'm to bring her back with me. Pronto.
Suppose she doesn't feel up to making the trip.
He says if she don't come back, he's coming here tomorrow morning bright and early and get her.
You seem to be a capable messenger, Sid. Would you mind carrying back a reply?
Well, not at all. Glad to oblige.
You can tell my beloved brother that I'll wait for him here. I should have the sheriff waiting for him, but I prefer to meet him alone.
Is that a promise?
You're not talking to Lute.
No, I forgot this movie, but see, there's another showdown. Yeah, he's going to... Oh, yeah, there's going to be the duel here too. Yeah, okay, I've forgotten this. Actually, I think what happens here is that he doesn't actually kill him, but...
Just what do you think Pearl's doing here with me?
Don't give me any of your high and mighty noble talk, big words. You think I wouldn't shoot you because you ain't got a gun?
No, Luke, I wouldn't credit you with any such compunctions.
I'm riding back to that hitching post and then turning and starting to shoot.
It's more than you did for Sam Pierce. Why all the consideration?
Just don't want them fancy friends of yours to say you had a brother who shot your gun.
Okay, so essentially he does shoot him, but because he is a much better shot, you see, he's good at all those cowboy things, you know, and but he doesn't kill him. But Pearl knows that he will come back and will kill him the next time. She knows that, you know. So essentially, you know, we have the just, you know, the and so they're all realising the truth of it now. Even the father cannot believe that he was so wrong about the sons, that, like, in a way, wait on, he hasn't actually died yet, but he does die too. But I'm muddling up this movie, but.
Our ancestors lit bonfires in the sky when the chief's son was dying. So he's dying, huh? Well, it don't surprise me none. Lute always was a good shot.
No, it looks like them ancestors of yours that put out those bonfires.
What do you mean?
I guess Jesse's a little tougher than you thought.
Thank God.
Oh, I thought I knew you better than that, Jackson. I know how fond you were of those boys. and how proud of him you were.
You know, Lynn, it don't seem possible, but I must have been wrong about a whole lot of things. Laura Bell warned me I was spoiling Lou, but I wouldn't listen to her. Lem, look, you see them plains and hills? I was so almighty proud of what I carved out of this country. I figured I was building something for Lou and Jesse. And what have I got now? Lou the murderer, an outlaw, Jesse.
Jesse'll come back anytime you want him to.
You think so, man?
You think so? Told me to tell you so.
I'm just a lonely old man who needs a friend. Like you said, Lynn.
He realizes that he was wrong. But, at any rate, okay.
Here, if you want to kiss him goodbye before he beats you across the border.
You mean it, Sid? Where is he?
I kind of figured you'd like that. He's hiding out at Squall's Head Rock. You got that? Squall's Head Rock. Just fire 2 shots when you get there.
Yes, Sid, I got it. Squaw's Head Rock.
Take the Apache Trail to the mission. Any engine there can tell you how to get to Buffalo Ridge. And then you... So you got a good horse. It's a couple of days' ride.
Sure, I got my pinto. You know. The one Lute gave me. Before I was his girl.
Okay, so, one last meeting before he goes on the run even more. So she's going to do the last meeting. It's a long trek, but be careful of copyright here. I'm not sure if I can show this last scene without getting into... It's the ads.
Stay there! Double-crossing I guess that does it. Pearl! Hey, Pearl! You got me that time. I've got more.
You're lying. You're lying like you always do.
I can't shoot no more, honey. Honest.
I'm not scared of you. I'm coming up after you.
All right, then. Come on up. No use my lying no more. I'm through. Pearl, you hear me?
Yeah.
Dad. Pearl, I'm going. Fast, are you? Ain't you coming up? I want to see you. I gotta see you. Pearl, where are you? Where are you? Hurry! Please! I've gotta hold you. Just once more. I love you. I love you. Hurry. Hurry. Blood. Hurry, honey. Hurry. Wait for me, Lou. Wait for me. Pearl! Where are you? You always said you could shoot. I never believed you.
I love you.
Don't cry, honey. Don't cry.
I had to do it, Lou. I had to do it.
Of course you did. Let me hold you.
Just hold me. Hold me next to me.
Little Bob.
And I guess that's what you'd call ill-fated love. And, you know, if things go that way, somehow it doesn't seem to make sense, does it? It's great for a romantic movie, but, you know, movies represent life too. They do. I've always said that. And it's funny that, you know, I first saw that movie when I was like, say, 16, 17. Somehow seems real, but also incredibly unreal now. But whereas you sort of pulled along right in the past, you understand the disaster and the tragedy of allowing yourself to be swept along like Pearl in that movie, in something that you know or should know is not going to end well for everyone. And that's interesting in that movie, I suppose, that the only survivors are really the totally innocent parties, if you really look at it, even though Pearl, who tried so hard, like we all do, to rise above our circumstances. But, okay, so I suppose she saved the life of the brother. But what a price they all had to pay. Because if things can't resolve themselves, you know, if you can't compromise, that's what it come down to in all of that. Like, once again, I suppose I could go on to the Matrix kind of personalities where there's no compromise, no middle ground that you can possibly take with some beings, you know. But at any rate, and so, as usual, the price is often too high. That was another movie where they said the price was too high. And I suppose life and death is part of life, so you might say, well, maybe that was just all meant to be. Perhaps it is, perhaps it isn't. It seems, often seems to me when I think of things that if everyone could understand one another and sometimes the reality that you just can't always have it all your own way, that you sometimes have to take a loss. See, even Pearl at that stage before Lute killed that older man that she was going to marry, she knew that she didn't love the older man, and the older man knew that. So that was a compromise. She was like, well, I can't marry the man that I really want to marry, so I'll give him his freedom and I'll settle for second best. But of course, Lute wasn't prepared to accept that he didn't want to marry her, but she couldn't marry anyone else. See, that was like in his personality, which was his downfall, you could say. But but that's this old movie is still showing differences in types of people or individuals, but if you take it at a matrix level, it's much more extreme than even that. Although in this movie, at a real level, it's the same as the Matrix, because you will have to deal with extreme loss if you're dealing with people that won't back down, even though you can't win. Like a normal person would say, if you can't win, then you better back down, because otherwise the losses will be greater. But if you're dealing with this mentality, which, that I've dealt with, and that even they will even tell you, I remember someone saying to me many years ago, if you can't have the whole pie, settle for a slice. But this same person that said to me, oh, if I can't have the whole pie, I'll settle for a slice. But in reality, that person wanted the whole pie, would not settle for a slice. In fact, if they were settling for a slice, it was only because they only wanted you to accept a slice while they have the whole pie, because that's exactly what I encountered in that interaction as I, saw that a relationship, shall we say. And it was also the same, I used to say that about relatives even, that, they just will not even accept if you give them 3/4 of the pie. They will fight to the death for the whole pie, or even if you give them 9/10 of the pie, or almost 99% of the pie, they still want the 100%. And so that's what you call a matrix unwinnable situation, and many humans are induced into playing in that. And some and I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm folding up. Any rate, that was Jewel in the Sun. That was Jewel in the Sun, and sometimes in this reality, that's what it will come to. Sometimes that's what it will come to, where there will have to be what I would say are unnecessary losses. But you will deal with people where that will happen no matter what you try to prevent. Even those that don't want to push it to the limit. Some people do, but even those that don't will be forced into those situations, like in that movie. And then if you are fooled by the fantasy that is presented even with people, when I say fooled, because you may not even be fooled. Like, was Pearl fooled by Lute? No, because she had that attraction for him, and as you can see at the end of the movie, it was real. but it wasn't meant to be in this life. Because of the way they were and the circumstances, and what I tried to show by showing bits of the movie, it could never work out to where everyone had what they wanted. And sometimes you just have to accept that you have to settle for less or step down and lose. Either that or you lose anyway. Did not Pearl and Lute lose in the end? You know, because, you know, they did, didn't they? They lost. They lost their life in this lifetime. And, you know, that's all you have. It may not be as you want it to be. But if you don't, then you lose your life. And it's only someone who's out of touch that says, well, if I can't have the whole pie, I'd rather lose my life. And that is like the android artificial beings, where they, you know, because they are negative, you see, that's another thing too. See, a real person, like, can still see some positive and negative. Like even Pearl at that point was like, well, I want to marry Lute, and I can never have the great love that I have for Lute, even though he's an unsuitable partner for a life together. See, because he could not settle down and actually give her a life. He couldn't marry, he couldn't settle down. As time went on, due to his ways, he even's on the run, he's an outlaw, there's no future. And even when he was stable and had wealth and a secure life, he still didn't want to settle down, even though he had picked her out as his girl, as he said. But, you know, it's, I'm just trying to point out the implausibility sometimes, the out-of-touch mindset of some people, that they can't look at things as they actually are, even though they create what is anyway. You know, so it's an unwinnable situation often, you find, and it's unrealistic when you are prepared to push it. But that's where you're pushing it to where you're prepared to give up your own life because you think that another person is all there is in life. And it may be the best life that you could have had, but it isn't still your life. You know, it's just that you've entered into the fantasy of the ideal life, of what you could, yes, it can even be real, like you could have that, like Pearl could have married Lute and had the life that she wanted. In her mind, but not in reality, because that was never going to happen. It takes two to have an agreement. And everything that is around you, like in your life, the people that are around you, whether they be real or not real, you still are living that existence. So unless you can make your fantasy a reality, unless you can, you have to accept that you can't and opt for a lesser life. You know, that's being realistic as a human being. But if you are not a real human being, then you are out of touch. So you are not going to be realistic. So you will play it out till it plays out like at the end of that movie, where nobody wins in a way, or at least very few people actually survive and win. Like I say, it seems it's great romance for a movie, but in reality, it's it seems like unnecessary loss. If you can't have what you want, and also if you don't know what you want, if you and you just want to, you know, like Lute wanted to play in the reality, but he didn't know till it was too late what he really thought about Pearl, even, shall we say, in the dying moments. Many people don't even face truth or what they really think or feel even in their dying moments. But you know, it's a movie, and it's a movie anyway, and that's it.